Start off as I always do by pointing out that I am looking at this long distance based on fragmentary reports that come in from sources that you know in the real world I wouldn't use. I'd like to have eyes on target and things of that nature, but we have what we have, and so what happens is you have to filter this through, um, I guess past experience, history, et cetera, to try and come up with an assessment of what's going on. It appears that this offensive is something that has been in the planning for some time now. These forces are well trained, well equipped. They're operating off of a well thought out game plan, and it's something that's clearly been rehearsed. There are reports that they had sleeper cells inside Aleppo that were able to emerge and help sow confusion. The Israeli activization of exploding pagers implies that Israel was factored into this effort. This couldn't have happened without Turkish, not just Turkish permission and support, but Turkish participation. Many reports from prisoner interrogations, which always have to be taken with a grain of salt, but backed up with some other evidence, clearly shows that the Turkish military was involved in planning and executing this operation. They made extensive use of drones, according to the reports. Ukrainian operatives were involved in the training of this, so Ukraine was involved in this as well. And I think what we're looking at here is something that this was no accident. This wasn't just a spur of the moment decision. According to the reports, this coordinated effort was supposed to take place in March, but that it was accelerated because of the developments that took place in Lebanon, in particular, the Israeli conflict with Hezbollah and a ceasefire that was signed. I think there was a feeling, this is again just my assessment, that when you looked at all the factors that normally contributed to a strong and resilient Syrian army, a military government, almost all of them were dormant. Russia, which had, of course, intervened decisively in 2015, stabilized the situation for Bashar al-Assad, had kept a residual force in Syria, but it wasn't as robust as it once was. And I guess the feeling was that because Russia was bogged down or quotation marks in Ukraine, that Russia would not be able to respond decisively in favor of Syria. The Syrian army itself had gone through a demobilization because of the political guarantees that had been made in Astana a few years back between Russia, Iran, Turkey regarding the situation in Syria and the stabilization of what was going on in Idlib, where this al-Nusra Front derivative is based out of, along with the Syrian National Army and some other elements. Hezbollah, which played a very important role in the stabilization of Syria and in the Syrian counteroffensives, of course, now is bogged down inside Lebanon. And Iran was likewise focused on what was going on with Israel. And also keep in mind that Iran also has problems brewing up north with Azerbaijan, and Iranian military resources have been diverted up there. Iran has another problem, along its border with Pakistan and Afghanistan. So the feeling was that Iran was not going to be in a position to be able to decisively intervene. And so you strike while the iron is hot, and that appears to be what they have done. And they achieved a surprise. And with that surprise, in many ways, it reminded me what happened when Ukraine attacked the Russian forces in Kharkov in the late summer, early fall of 2022, exploiting thinly held lines, being able to penetrate deeply with light armored forces, cut off roadways, et cetera, and generate confusion prompting a retreat. And this appears to be the case. There are Syrian casualties. I can't say exactly how many. It looks like many people have been taken prisoner, but it also looks as if large quantities of the Syrian army were able to withdraw from Aleppo in decent order and fall back on prepared positions. Reserves have been mobilized relatively quickly. The 4th Armored Division and I think the Tiger Force have been brought up. And the Russian Air Force, I don't know what people thought was going to happen, but it has come to life, and it is blowing the living crap out of the HTS, out of the al-Nusra people in Idlib, along with the Syrian Air Force. Hezbollah is engaged, and Iran is engaged, sending its own forces and mobilizing Iraqi pro-Iranian militias to coming in. The situation is stable, I would say right now. I would say that the gambit has failed, that there's a lot of heavy fighting left ahead. But I think the loser in all of this is Turkey, who will never again be trusted through the Astana process. You can't just write Turkey off, but Turkey is a regional a player, so they will be a part of any negotiation. But the day of a trusting handshake and a knowing nod is over. Erdogan can never be trusted again by anybody, and this will make whatever. I think that there will be more inclination on the part of the parties involved to finish this fight this time, as opposed to rely on some sort of diplomatic off-ramp. But that's speculation, because again, Russia is in the end-game phase of Ukraine, facing difficulties with NATO and the United States. They have Trump coming in. That Trump administration on January 20th is a huge wild card, because a lot of people, a lot of nations aren't willing to do things that are precipitous at this point in time, opting to hold off. To give you an example, Iran has said that it's not going to strike Israel until, and they're going to let Trump come in and see what happens. You hear a lot of language out of Putin about, softening Trump up for whatever is going to happen on January 20th. So yeah, I don't see them committing heavily to a major engagement with Syria right now, only to have to pull back if Trump starts, making reasonable diplomatic, overtures. So I think heavy fighting, no need to panic. Bashar al-Assad certainly isn't panicking, and I think Turkey and the rebels are going to pay a very, very heavy price.
Andre, I wanted to kick it to you, especially with regard to Russia. There's been a lot of criticisms being hurled all across, not just Western media, but all across social media about Russia's role here, and how Russia was not maybe strong enough in the process to rid of these forces to begin with. I wanted to ask you, though, what do you think of this, as well as the overall situation in Syria, especially in regards to militarily how things will play out from here?
Scott pretty much covered it all, actually. There's very little to add, and I have to say that I completely agree with him on his assessment, with the exception of the Trump, but that's the minor, basically, disagreement. Other than that, I mean, it's difficult to add anything. And again, you have to understand, it is pretty much desert environment, and Aleppo is placed to the north, about 30 miles from Turkey, and basically outflanked by to the west by Idlib province, where this whole thing originated. So it's inevitable, but they need to run those convoys and what have the so-called sustainment force, if you wish, in the desert environment. And this is the perfect, the Turkish shoot for, as already have been seen by Russian Air Force and Syrian Air Force. And essentially that will end up where it always ends, because the only way for that type of the force, which is terrorist force, to survive is to hide behind civilians and embed themselves into some kind of the urban environment, those buildings and other places of this nature. So yeah, it's going to be basically a mop-up operation at some point of time, trying to dislodge them from whatever they have been able to capture, which they evidently did. But as Scott correctly pointed out, there is very little sense of panic, and it's like in Russian military circles, people say, yeah, here we go again. The Arab militaries, it all depends who was bribed by who. And as I already stated, the Syrians, they kind of, relaxed a little bit. Good for them and, going back into shape. But as correctly stated by Scott, and I can only confirm, Turkey is the biggest loser. Obviously, their foreign minister today stated that, everything was done behind our backs. We never, authorized anything like this and things of this nature. So it's all we know it's all BS, obviously, but we have to keep in mind that it's not just Turkey, which pursues its own interests in that area. There is also United States and a combined West, which have literally their behinds handed to them in Ukraine. And Georgia is another link in all this classic American geopolitical posture of the using indirect strategies whenever dealing with the serious people. So, and this is what is happening. We might expect some other conflagration. Russia totally expected that. Today, Putin spoke to president of Iran. I'm pretty sure everything is coordinated now, and China already came out and stated that we're completely behind President Assad, and so that's in the larger scheme of things. I would say it's with the tactical conflagration, it definitely has a bearing on the overall situation. But in the end, this is all about what is happening, in former Ukraine, because it doesn't exist as a Bible state anymore. And the closing phase, so to speak, arrangement phase with the combined West, because Russians still are deciding, do we need the whole damn Ukraine, or do we really have we'll arrange it somehow, Obviously, Mr. Kellogg he will be laughed out of any negotiation room with Russians, and especially Russian military, who will be looking at him as second-rate military, let alone. So, and Trump, whatever Trump does, it's just the basic thing for Russians to decide if they really have to go and deal with the complete whole of Ukraine, or whatever the arrangement will be. Judging by the Kharkov area today, which, there is a real, basically a positive, if you wish to use this term, dynamics, the activation of the hostilities. So who knows what's the plans by Putin and general staff and other people. But it's all the same picture. It's all the combined West, and it's all this, they are infantile, the Western national security establishment are illiterate people. They really do not understand. They never did the nature of the warfare, especially modern warfare. And as a result, they do what they always do. Let's, just sow the chaos here and there. So that's pretty much the pattern. It's beaten to death pattern, and it's always anticipated nowadays.
Scott, I wanted to ask you, does this, some have been making the comparison of what's happening in Aleppo and the northwest Syria area with what happened in Kursk, where you have these forces attempt to opportunistically create the image of the adversary, whether it's Russia or here Syria. But now, as Andrei said, there will be a mop-up operation. I'm just curious on your thoughts about this. It also seems like Turkey is being centered on, which I think is, on the one hand, important because Turkey is a primary backer of HTS, but also because I think Saudi Arabia, Qatar, some of these Arab countries that used to fund and arm these forces are backing off and saying they support Syria. Your thoughts?
First of all, I wouldn't compare it with Kursk. Kursk was, whatever you think of the Ukrainian military, I think we have to acknowledge it's a world-class military. They know how to fight. The forces that went into Kursk were trained by NATO to the most modern techniques, modern communications, modern command and control. Ask the Russians; they're dying hard. If this was a soft force, Kursk would have been recaptured by now. Kursk hasn't been recaptured by now because the Ukrainians fight. They fight hard, and so I think qualitatively we can't compare the two forces whatsoever. these terrorists that are coming down are incapable of a stand-up fight. They can do light mobile action, etc. But when they come up against a serious ground force, and the Syrians are a serious ground force, they lose. There has been hesitance in the past about pushing the advantage because of Turkey and the fear of, not fear per se, but the concern of, on the part of Syria and Russia, of confronting Turkish troops. If you recall, a couple of years ago, the Turks sent a column down and Russia bombed it but that's not something they want. And so the concern was always not to provoke. I think that concern's gone. When the forces get mustered and the line becomes stabilized, I think you're going to see these forces fold like a house of cards. They're just not capable of sustained high intensity combat. I don't think they have the resilience. One thing about the Ukrainians is they rotate forces in, they reinforce. They're willing to die in place to defend a piece of terrain. I'm not saying these guys aren't willing to die, but they can't fight. They don't know how to fight like the Ukrainians can. So I wouldn't compare this with Kursk at all. Maybe they were hoping for a fait accompli. I think the goal was to push forward as far as one could and hope for some sort of political collapse in Damascus that would have created problems for the other nations to rally if Assad wasn't there. There was talks about a coup d'etat. I don't know if one was planned, if they thought they had one planned, but clearly nothing took place. But this, when you look at it, this operation only works if you exploit the surprise with some sort of collapse on the other side. It hasn't happened. So this operation is doomed to fail because these forces are not capable of the al-Nusra forces are not capable of, sustained high intensity conflict. They just can't do it. They don't have air defense worthy of the name. And once the Russians and the Syrians get their air-ground coordination act together, it's going to be hell on earth for these people. They're just going to get blown away by air power that they have no response to. And I don't think Turkey is positioned at this point in time to intervene. As you have the foreign ministry saying we didn't know anything about it. So what? Now they're going to follow up by deploying 3 Turkish divisions into Syria to save these people's hides. It isn't going to happen. So I don't think this is like Kursk. I think this was a gambit, and I so far it's failed, and that's where I'll leave it.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am back with another new video. In this video I have started playing BG and my gameplay with 3 random teammates, and I start a quick match in this game. So guys, if you like to watch video like this, then you can subscribe my channel.
Marked a location.
I upload daily this type of videos in my channel. Basically in my channel I have uploaded too many war-related content which are described by Scott Ritter and Douglas McGregor. If you don't know who Scott Ritter is, I am going to tell you. Scott Ritter is an ex-military officer of US Army. So he is well known about current war and affairs. So if you like to watch video like this which are related to war, then you can subscribe my channel.
Location mark kora.
Help!
So guys, keep watch my channel. guys keep watching my channel. I'll be back in the next time.
Help! Marked a location. Help!
Thank you guys who are still watching. Guys, please keep watching my channel. I'll be back with another video next time. Thank you guys who are watching my channel. Hi guys, everyone, thank you. I'm going to end this video from here because I'll be upload another video next time. Bye for today. Thank you guys who are still watching. I'll be upload our related video next time. Bye for now guys. Love you guys.